Hello and welcome everyone to a brand new episode of the Literally Me podcast. We're back. I'm of course Dino and I'm joined by my good pal Tristan. Tristan, how are you today?
Doing well. Good to be back on the pod.
Hell yeah, after our Planet of the Apes episode that unfortunately didn't have the sounds that we wanted to
Yeah, what a
have in there,
bummer.
so it sound like insane people on that one, but no sounds this time, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was really one of the biggest letdowns of this
Yeah.
podcast so far. What a bummer. We got to figure
We
a
were
way
so
around that because I would love to incorporate the soundboard in general.
we need to see like how our boy Craig can record those because like last episode we were so excited to do the sounds. You were like looking up sounds for like 10, 15 minutes prior to the episode.
Yeah, and we
I
just
think
played
that's
one right there that
perfect.
no one heard. Yeah.
Yeah, just us. Exclusive. So but yeah, we're back with a brand new episode. And this week we're talking about the film All Good Things. But before we do that, we have a couple of news that I want to talk about. And there's one thing in particular that I think you'll definitely, if you haven't heard already, be definitely super stoked to hear.
Okay.
And that is our boy Sean Baker's new film, Anora.
Yeah.
Super exciting. You're probably excited for this film as much as I am, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. I was fucking hyped. When I saw that, I was legitimately like happy for him. I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, like that's fucking dope that he
He
won." And
deserves
I
it.
wasn't I wasn't expecting that because I think the movie has had like I don't know shit about it. Like there's not been anything. There's been like two still images that have been like properly released
Yep.
and then the title. There's no teaser, there's no trailer, there's nothing like about that I've seen at least.
There's a little synopsis. Like I know approximately what it's about, but like not a lot. There's
Yeah.
been like a brief plot synopsis.
So a part of me have almost like I haven't thought about the movie as much because I'm like, "Oh, I don't even really know what it is." I'm sure it's gonna be dope and I'm gonna go watch it, but I was like, "Oh, it's just like, whatever, I'll find out." But then this hits and I'm like, "Oh, it's like that." I'm like, "Okay, now I'm really fucking tapped in, ready to," not that I wouldn't have before, but now I'm really, really interested in seeing what the film is about, and, yeah, good for Sean Baker. That man deserves it. That's super sick.
Absolutely, he deserves it. I know we both like him as a filmmaker and just super deserved. And it's funny because this was produced by Neon, or like distributed by Neon, and Neon has produced the last five, like in the last
Dis
5 years, all the Palme d'Or winners have been like Neon productions or like distributors. So it was,
Distributed. Yeah, distributed.
yeah, starting with Parasite, Titan, which I have
Yep.
never finished, Triangle of
Triangle of Sadness,
Sadness, Anatomy of a
Anatomy of a
Fall,
Fall,
and now
Anora.
Nora. Yeah,
I'm
that's super
especially
dope.
excited because Anora is gonna get a wide ass fucking release,
Hope so.
especially. So, not that I mean, Red Rocket was I was able to see easily, and same with the the Florida Project I didn't see in theaters, but I do know is everywhere.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I really I can't wait. And Neon is on a straight up like
Killing it.
generational Michael Jordan fucking run right now. It's insane.
Yep.
It's crazy. I love,
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big, big fan of Neon, and I think I've even said on the pod, I've become more of a Neon than an A24 boy as of late.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I mean, they're definitely like pulling in more awards, I think, than A24, but they're still like both companies. I don't see them as rivals, honestly. I think they're just like an enrichment for cinema, both of them. So I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But even if there's like some competition, we benefit from it. We as the audience, we benefit from it. So
Oh, yeah.
let them cook.
Yeah, let 'em cook, both. But Neon is especially cooking right now, that shit is going crazy.
Yep. And someone else who's cooking and maybe cooking a bit too much, a bit too expensive, and that is the Brad Pitt's Formula One film directed by Joseph Kosinski, which I read a couple of weeks ago that it's tracking to become the most expensive film ever with a current budget of over 300 million US dollars.
No, that's
Which
disgusting.
it's crazy to think. I mean, a Formula One film, I think they got really unlucky with like COVID. I think they started and COVID happened and then the strikes happened. So I think that really pushed the budget. But 300 million is really crazy for like a. I mean, there's a lot of Formula One fans out there. I love Brad Pitt. I love Joseph Kosinski, but it's, that's a lot for a Formula One film. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know about this. That's fucking crazy. You could literally make like 50 movies with that. Like that's
Yeah.
insane to me. More than
Mhm.
that. You can make 60. Um yeah, that's absolutely disgusting. There's no need. If fucking even Avatar didn't even cost that damn much, why the hell does this Joseph Krasinski motherfucker need $300 million? And like the thing is it'll probably make all of its money back. But then you got to consider all the fucking marketing costs too. Like this is going to be like half a billion dollar movie, and
Yeah. It's
I
probably
don't know
gonna
that
be
they're going
like
to.
800 million to break even at this point.
I don't even know if that's going to break a billion. I'm not going to go. Just to hearing that, I'm not going to go, and I'm not going to pay money. If I see it, I'm going to stream it illegally. I don't even care.
That's the
Just
hater
to
in you. True hater
just to
coming
make a
out.
point. Just to make a point that this should not be allowed. This should not be
Mhm.
okay.
It's crazy. I honestly think like like COVID and the strikes definitely like put the budget like, exponentially, but it's still crazy for like a Formula One film. And I know they're shooting a lot of things at like actual Formula One races. So they also have to wait for those races. I think there's been like
Yep.
delays, whatever. So still
I
very
think one of
crazy.
them is on right now as we speak. Monaco.
Oh, they might be filming over there. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I hope all their cameras break and they have to spend another 10 million.
And I have one more little news segment I wanted to talk about. I wrote down this story a while ago, but we didn't get to it, and then there was a little bit development. So Hugh Jackman will star in a Robin Hood film called The Death of Robin Hood, alongside
Hmm.
Jodie Comer. And the film follows Robin Hood grappling with his past after a life of crime and murder, what's in the hands of a mysterious woman after being badly injured. And afterwards, a couple weeks later, because I forgot to talk about this, it has now been reported that A24 has acquired the US rights for this film.
Okay.
And I just want to
Interesting.
mention this film because it sounds super dope. I love Robin Hood. And Hugh Jackman as Robin Hood, like a old Robin Hood kind of regretting all this murdering and looting. I think it sounds
Yeah.
like a really interesting film, so I just wanted to get your thoughts on it quickly. Have you heard of
Yeah.
this film at all?
No, not at all. I was curious to see where it was going because as soon as you started describing, I'm like, okay, this sounds interesting. I was like, but it's gonna
Mhm.
have to be in the right person's hands in order for this to go down. Because I could see them doing like a whole Green Knight kind of thing with it, especially since you said A24. Then I was like, okay,
Exactly.
well, at least I know there's gonna be some like taste behind it. At least it may not
Mhm.
be my taste, but it certainly will. There will be taste. Does it say who's making it? Who's directing it?
Yeah, I just looked it up. It's Michael Saronsky, who I'm. Let me look him up. I'm not sure.
That name
Michael
sounds familiar. Is
Saronsky.
how do you spell Saronsky?
Um, S-A-O. Oh no, it's Sarnoski. Oh, see, he
Michael
did Pig.
Sarnowski. Pig, that's
Sarnos.
it. That's it.
Yeah, and he's
I was
also
gonna
doing
say
The
I know
Quiet
this
Place.
name, the new Quiet Place, and I think he's doing the next Quiet Place.
Yep, and
Wait, I'm so confused. Which one was A Quiet Place is the one that's coming out now, day one, right? And he's directing
that's
that.
that's like the spin-off prequel sort
It's
of thing,
and it's the
and
third one, I think, in the movie,
and then he's
if I'm
making the
not
third one,
mistaken.
which seems like John Krasinski isn't
But then
directing
it's
this one.
yeah, but then it says A Quiet Place Part 3, but it's the fourth movie.
Yeah, I mean
I'm
that's
so
like if
yo, I also wanna talk about John Krasinski. I think we gotta take away his privileges. He's done. He's done. I wanna take the keys away from him. Have you heard about this movie If that he just did?
yeah, it confused me because it says like if when I googled Michael Sarnowski, it says like director of If, but he didn't direct that, so I think that's just yeah, that was Joseph Kosinski. I'm actually like I liked A Quiet Place 1 and 2, and I think 3 is like following the main family again, and this day 1 is
Uh-huh.
like a spin-off prequel type thing. So technically it's the fourth one, but in the trilogy order it's the third one. That makes
And
sense with the main
I
family.
understand. I understand
Yeah.
that. It's a silly name, and it's silly to drop
Mhm.
it as your 4th movie. I get it,
Yeah.
but it's just yeah, it's funny.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I would love to see him do something different, uh, and very odd that he chose to do this, like, weird animated movie for, like, his non-Quiet Place film as well.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
it looks fun. It looks like a fun I mean, it has Ryan Reynolds, so I already know what you think of it.
he's a menace.
Um,
He's the one whose keys need to be taken away. Ryan Reynolds needs to be
he's the
thrown
one
into a
behind it
river.
all. He's like the
He
Scooby
really
Doo
is the
when you
one.
pull off the hood of John
Yes.
Krasinski, and it's just Ryan
It's just
Reynolds
like, "Oh
behind
my
it
god,
all.
it's been Ryan Reynolds the whole goddamn time." This
It's been
makes so
Ryan Reynolds
perfect
all the way.
sense.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. That'd be my worst nightmare. John Krasinski shows up in my house and he pulls off a mask and it's actually Ryan Reynolds.
Here to kill you, but yeah, those are the
Well,
news,
good for
and
them.
speaking of someone trying to kill you, should we get into our film for this week,
Yes, but
or
I have one movie I do wanna talk about first.
let's do it?
The trailer, I'm sure you've been seeing it. This is another fucking neon banger, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
This movie, Longlegs, that's coming out. Have you been seeing all the teasers and trailers for Longlegs over the last, like, maybe 6 months now?
I've
It
seen things of it, but I don't know what it's about. But I've seen, like,
exactly.
a couple of promotional
Okay.
stuff, which look very interesting.
The marketing has been unbelievable for this
Mhm.
movie. It's a new Micah Monroe, like, starring, horror film. It's by Osgood Perkins, Anthony Perkins' son. He directed, I know he did that Gretel and Hansel movie from, like, a COVID era, and I
Yep.
know that he did, I didn't see that, but I did see The Black Coat's Daughter recently, which I think was an
Mhm.
A24 movie from, like, 2015. Did you see that one?
Never.
That one's an interesting one.
Mhm.
But he's a solid director, and I'm very excited for this. The marketing has been insane, and it looks so super good, and Nick Cage is playing this serial killer in it. Um,
Damn.
but like you said, it's I don't exactly know what it is. The teasers and everything have been super ambiguous, and super, like, enigmatic, and, they just released the first trailer for it, maybe last week now at the time of recording.
Mhm.
And it just I mean, it looks so good. I think it might be, like, my most anticipated movie for this year. I really, really am so excited to see that thing on a big screen.
Oh, yeah, when is it coming out?
It's
August?
coming it's coming out soon. At least
That's
here in the States,
Mhm.
it's coming out in July. Well, let me
Okay.
see, July 12th.
It says August in Germany here, August
Okay.
29, so dude,
Yeah,
the
there
posters, like, they look every poster looks different, so you have no clue what it's
yep.
about, honestly, but they all look super interesting.
It's
This looks wild.
incredible. It is incredible marketing what they've done with this movie. It's insane. Um,
Can't
there's also a movie coming out next week here, called, or actually it starts playing Wednesday. I might go on fucking Wednesday. It's called
Mhm.
In a Violent Nature. You heard about this one?
Nope.
It's from IFC is distributing it. It's a slasher movie that's told almost, like, entirely from, like, the perspective of the killer. So it's like you see him roaming through the in a violent nature.
Yep,
And
found it.
it's pretty much like the trailer looks insane where it's, like, just following him, and you see that he comes across people, but in typical slashers, you follow the people and you see, like, "Oh, this guy's coming out of the woods, and now he's coming in." But this you're just, like, roaming. He, like, goes from one camp, I think, like, kills some people, walks away, goes find some other
Uh,
people. Like, it's told entirely from his point of view, and I'm super excited to check it out. The trailer looks sick. And
um,
again, very, very solid marketing, but, Longlegs is really the one who is just killing it right now.
dude, we're getting some good horror films this year.
Oh,
We're
hell yeah,
feasting,
we are.
honestly. There's also I saw the TV Glow, which unfortunately isn't out over here. I still hope it comes out. I think we talked about it.
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
think
see it Tuesday.
yeah, and then The Watchers is coming out
Shyamalan.
soon, I think. So we're getting a lot of Nosferatu in December, which is my most anticipated film. Can't
Yep.
wait. But this in a violent nature, it looks really cool.
Yeah, it's put out by IFC and, I think I see in Shudder. I know Shudder,
Shudder.
um, is also a part of it, so I think that it'll eventually make its way on the Shudder app if I had to guess as well, but
Yeah.
I feel like this will be sick to see on the big screen.
I don't think we're getting a big screen release here in Germany, unfortunately, but I can't wait to watch it at home then, at least.
Yeah, yeah, very excited for that, but yeah, let's get into, All Good Things.
Yeah, let's get into All Good Things. Came out in 2010, directed by Andrew Jarecki, starring, of course, our boy Ryan Gosling and Kirsten Dunst. And we both also saw The Jinx, which this podcast, The Coincidences, is aligned perfectly with the second season being out right now in the US at least. And I think they're on
Mhm.
episode 4, something like that.
I think so.
Uh,
I'm not watching the second one right now, but
yeah,
yeah, I
you don't
do know
want
it
to
just
ruin it
started.
for yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, like coincidences we're talking about now. And I think like before we get into the discussion, I have a question for you because you also watched the documentary, of course, The Jinx, which you recommended to me, which I also checked out before the film. And I want to ask you, like, knowing about these true events and how it unfolded in real life, do you think the film did a good job of showing these atrocities and showing like what happened, just like
The
as a
f
general opener?
the film,
Did the film
like,
like
did All
do
Good
it?
Things?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I don't I'm kinda torn because I don't really think it's a terrible movie, but I don't really think it's a good one either. So, I'm, like, in a weird position where I know a lot of people, like, actually, like, straight up, like, hate her, like, "This is a total piece of shit," which I don't think is necessarily true, but it's one of those where it's very much like a daytime TV kind of on in the background on a Sunday at 2 p.m. You know what I mean? Or, like, well, a Tuesday
absolutely.
at 2 p.m. type of shit. So, it's just very surface level, and it doesn't really go very deep into anything, and in fact, it makes sense why Robert Durst really liked the movie and reached out to Jarecki, which ended up
Yeah,
being the worst decision of his fucking life, is because it's not very, like, accusatory, really, like, it implies that maybe he could have had something to do with it, and but ultimately, it kind of paints him in a way where it's like, "Oh, well, maybe he didn't though, like, at all." So I could see why Durst's like, "Oh my god, this guy, he really gets me. I gotta clear my name," and then ends up just being the biggest moron in the world, but, um, yeah, no, not really. Did you?
I absolutely agree with you. I mean, it's not a terrible film at all. It's very okay. Like you can watch it. There's like some good things about it, but I think it's sort
Not all
of
good things, just some good things.
yeah, I think it's sort of like a step in the wrong direction, honestly. And a part of me wants to think that Jarecki did it on purpose, that he kind
Mm,
of painted him as this. Part of me wants to believe that he planned this, like he planned on first reaching out to him and making something like serviceable to him, so he could make the documentary and expose him truly.
yeah,
If that's the case, amazing. If not, I sort of have like I'm a little bit twisted on the film, and I mean we're hating on our boy Gosling a lot recently, so it pains me to say this, but I feel like he was sort of miscast, and I don't think that's his fault. I just think if you watch the documentary and if you watch like footage of Robert Durst, he has this certain presence. Like you can tell this man is evil, and it's not this and intimidating. Like he's if you're in a room with him, like he won't intimidate you physically, and not even like, oh, this dude is just absolutely insane, gonna like pick up everything and just be crazy. But sort of this calculated, emotionless like way around him where you can tell like if it ever happens like that this dude has to kill me, he'll do it without hesitation. And then casting
right.
someone like Ryan Gosling, who is super likable, who is not like Robert Durst at all, I feel like, especially with the direction of the film and like the dialogue, it just didn't fit for me, honestly. And it's not Ryan Gosling's fault. I think it's the direction of the film. He's just too likable, and Robert Durst is just not likable at all. And you can see the evil in him when he talks. So, do you agree with me on this one, or do you think
I
it was
do,
a good choice?
no, I do agree because I didn't think about it until, like, now, really. Like, I think this movie would have been a lot better if they would have gotten an unknown person altogether.
Yeah,
Um, but, like, you're right, because it feels like there are parts of this that's doing, like, a which is a movie I'm so excited to rewatch for next week, like, doing, like, a Blue Valentine sort of, like, thing for a second, and
Yep.
then it, like, cuts out to him being, like, cross-dressing, um murderer, and it's like, "Oh, I'm not buying this, really."
Yep.
I think he's really good when he like, in the very beginning, when he first meets Kirsten Dunst and, like, all that, he's very good, and when they show him in the future as, like, an older man,
Mhm.
like, in the courtroom or whatever, I think it's good,
Yep.
but all the other, like, retelling stuff in the middle, like, just seems yeah, I just if it would have been an unknown entirely, like, an unknown person or a breakout for someone, like, who didn't
Mhm.
have a past of being a really likable not even likable, but a lovable America sweetheart type figure, then I think it
Yep.
would have worked much better, and I can kinda see what Jarecki was maybe trying to do by doing that, but it's like, even Durst wasn't a big enough figure, and you're not even using Durst either, like, you're making up a different name for the same thing, but it's not like
Mhm.
Durst was this, like, charismatic figure like a Ripley or something. He was
Yep.
a little curmudgeonly little goblin, always.
Exactly.
So, I don't really buy Gosling as that either. Yeah, no.
Yeah. And there's also like a big problem, something that just didn't feel right with me watching the film, and that is, like you said, like they don't fully go into him doing these murders, at least not all of them. I
Yeah,
like that with the wife, like it's left ambiguous because we don't know enough details. But then you have with his like when he's in Galveston, and there's his like the guy who lives in his apartment complex, like
Philip
the old
Baker Hall, yeah. Yeah,
having him being the one who kills the friend in Los Angeles just absolutely doesn't sit right with me because imagine you're the family of this guy. He's like your uncle or your cousin, whatever. He gets murdered by Robert Durst, and then this film comes out where they portray him as like an accomplice that he also killed someone. Like that is just there's no details that he did that whatsoever. So I
yeah,
think it's sort of stupid to do that in the film. Like, it's just that guy was killed, and you're
yeah.
painting him out to be like a murderer as well. It just doesn't sit right with me, honestly. So
I
that's a little thing
I
that
agree.
bothered.
I agree, and
Yeah.
I think it makes sense that Andrew Jarecki has never done another fictional film ever again.
Mhm.
Um, Not saying that maybe they're not allowing him to, but I think maybe he's probably like, "Yeah, this isn't his speed." I hope he would have that kind of objectivity at least, but yeah, it's because his documentaries are fantastic, all of them. The Jinx, also Capturing the Freedmans is an incredible documentary.
Mhm.
But this, it doesn't work. You would think that someone who has all this experience and is at heart maybe a documentary filmmaker would, I mean, stretch the truth. But I guess I mean documentary filmmakers do stretch the truth a lot, so it's only fair.
Yeah.
They don't say they do, but they do all the time.
Mhm. I mean,
Even in the
there's certain
Jinx.
things where I don't mind them stretching that out. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not one to be like, "Oh, everything has to be accurate in a film," because it's a film. No, and in a film, there's like and it says like this is based on true events, but it's not like they can still
Yeah,
make up things, but painting someone who was murdered as an accomplice and murderer without any evidence is just weird to me.
I agree.
So
Yeah, I
that's
agree.
kind of the thing. But the documentary, like, do we want to talk a little bit about that because that
Yeah.
is incredible.
The Jinx is, I think, like the greatest documentary experience I've maybe have ever had. I haven't rewatched it in a while. I wanted to get around to it. I just didn't have time in the last week or two to
Mhm.
rewatch it again. But I mean, it's incredible. It is a fantastic the last episode is like the most tense shit I've ever seen. Like more than like a Hitchcock film. It's crazy. I know you just watched it for the first time ever, right?
I watched it for the first time ever, and like you said, like it in the middle, it was a little bit like so that day I was a little bit tired, and I was like, I'm just gonna watch one more episode, and that was episode 5. And as soon as that ended, I was wide awake, just
Yeah.
clicking on that button to watch episode 6 because that episode 6, I was not like tired anymore. I was wide awake on the edge
Yeah.
of my seat. Just incredible documentary, like filmmaking, and the way they expose him, the way they just structure of that last episode, it's honestly like one of the best, like you said, one of the best documentary experiences I've ever had as well. It's
Oh
super
yeah,
wild, and the way they end it is just perfect.
yeah, it's
It's
incredible.
yeah,
It's
and maybe
incredible,
I
and
can like mhm,
I was gonna say, and I love how it's kind of like become like a thing too. I was working on on a project last weekend, a documentary, and we were miking someone up, and they went to the bathroom, and I was like, "Yo, turn that off." I was like, "You don't want to jinx yourself." And it's like it's funny that it's like become this thing now,
mhm.
and other documentaries have utilized like there's one, oh my god, what's it called? Oh shit. It just came out like a few years ago, and it's about this like, oh shit. I'm really just talking now as I search feverishly because I don't want there to be too much dead air. But there's a documentary. Oh, here it is. Natalia Grace. Have you heard about this?
I haven't.
It was on like ID Network or something, but it's on Max, I think, like to
Mhm.
stream. And it's about this. It's essentially the Orphan. You know the Orphan movies, right? It's essentially that
Oh, that's
idea.
why the name rings a bell. It's
Yeah,
like that
it's
girl who
essentially
pretended to be a child, but she was like this 20-something-year-old woman.
that's the accusation. And then you look back, you're like, "Oh, no, I we think she actually was a child maybe, and her adoptive parents are, like, fucking psychos and are creating this whole story." So you can't tell, but there is a moment where the father, the adoptive father is talking to, like, his actual biological son, and they fucking jinx each other like in it, like there's a hot mic and there's a moment that is caught that is like that. Now it's not like in this big culminating, nothing will ever reach like what the jinx did, but it was a
Yeah,
small moment that kind of climaxed one episode in particular.
damn.
um but that's an insane doc, and the guy, the adoptive father, is like the most insane person I've ever seen put to film or television, fiction or documentary. Like this dude is a cartoon character. I cannot believe he's real. It needs to be watched for him alone. He is an insane person.
There's like multiple documentaries about that case, and there was one where it's very much about like the parents, and they're sort of like saying, "Oh, this little girl is like super evil, and she's not who she's pretending to be." So to
Yeah.
hear that now there's another one more like defending her and saying that the parents like possibly made up stuff and some sounds super interesting. I need to see if that's available on WoW here
Yeah.
as well.
It's The Curious Case of Natalia Grace, I think is what it's called. I had to look it up on Letterboxd.
Okay.
It's Yeah, I can't believe that I honestly can't believe it's real. It's fucking crazy.
That case was wild. I still cannot
Oh
believe like
yeah.
when I first heard about that, I didn't watch the documentary. I just like saw a little news clip and I couldn't believe what was happening.
Yeah, it's insane.
Really wild.
It's insane.
But yeah, back to
But yeah,
Jinx, maybe I can give like a little rundown on because it starts in Galveston, Texas,
yeah,
with on the shore, there's like plastic bags and like one suitcase, I think, that people find, and it's just all these dismembered body pieces of a man. And so the police is investigating. They find out where he lived, and they find the apartment of Robert Durst with like wigs, like wigs with like long hair, and they're and then Robert Durst he gets caught for stealing a sandwich, even though he had like tens or like hundreds of thousands of dollars in his car, so could have bought it. But he got caught, and then it sort of unravels from there. He comes from a rich family from New York. They have a lot of real estate in Manhattan. His mom, spoilers, I guess, but his mom at a young age, she jumped from a roof and killed herself, and he watched her do it. His dad was very hard on him. His brother also was more in favor of taking over the company, so there was a lot of conflict between them to the point where the brother even later hired a bodyguard because he was scared of his brother. And they reveal that his wife, Kathy Durst, went missing. And then it sort of implied that he definitely killed her, but the police didn't know a lot, so he just went free. He just then moved to Galveston because he didn't want to be Robert Durst anymore, where he shaved his head and wore female wigs. He pretended to be a woman because he didn't want to be Robert Durst anymore. There's also his best friend in California who was writing books. She got killed all of a sudden. She was the daughter of some mafia
Mhm.
boss in Las Vegas, I think. And yeah, and then his apartment complex guy who he was friends with. To this day, they still don't know if he was actually friends with because no one saw them with each
Really?
other.
Yeah.
He gets killed, and that's sort of how it happens. And then they make this movie. Jarecki makes this film, and then Robert Durst calls him up after the premiere, like after the film premieres. I'm like, I liked your film, but I have like some advice on things you could do better. Let's meet. And so they have a whole discussion, whole interview, and that's sort of where it goes. They gather information, talk to different people from this case, and then in the end, he jinxes himself because he forgets that he's mic'd up, goes to the bathroom, and he talks to himself, which Ryan Gosling also in this film does here and there.
Yeah.
And yeah, just exposes himself. And then afterwards, that's like where season two picks up, I think. All the things that happen afterwards, where he tries to flee the country before the final episode comes out back in, I think, 2015, I think. He gets caught by the FBI, goes to prison. There's another trial, his death, all those things. But I don't know what happens afterwards. I just saw the trailer for season
Yeah.
two, and I read a couple of things, but how exactly it went down. I think I'll actually check out season two, just to see. I just want to see like where this goes from here, because then also like people come forward trying to help him, hoping to get money from him, which seems to be
Yeah.
like a thing with him. Like people always helping him to in hopes to get money from him because he is rich. But I feel like he just played all of them.
Yeah.
Um,
Pretty
very
much.
stupid people. But
Pretty
yeah,
much.
those were just
And I
the
and I
big.
think you did mention it, and it's a little late now, but definitely major spoiler alert. Maybe we put something at the top of the pod as
Mhm.
well, for the Jinx, because yeah, that because if anyone hasn't seen it, go out and see it, and I hope you skipped ahead too, because that's
Mhm.
incredible revelation that takes place in that doc. I might fuck around and throw
Absolutely.
the first one back on today, honestly.
Hell yeah. Those that last episode, honestly, I could watch that so many times. It's just
Yeah.
intense, insane.
It's insane. Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, you know,
Weeks?
dead wives or wigs is even better. How much is well, I guess it's not Robert Durst, it's what, David Marks? Is that his
David
name in it?
Morris.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how much is David Marks literally you?
Clear zero on this one.
Yeah,
Honestly, I mean, Ryan Gosling is likable, but the character and Robert Durst himself, one of the most unlikable, and just you can tell he's super evil. So I
yeah,
can't. I don't even want to give anything more than a zero. It's a negative 1 billion, honestly.
yeah.
So what about you?
It's yeah, same 0. It's funny when I was watching this though, because I was thinking about what you had said about him not wanting to do these like darker roles because it like puts him and there was in this moment where multiple times that popped into my head. I'm like, oh, this is why. Like this is why he doesn't do this because he's playing
Yeah,
these despicable people. But yeah,
I had the
very
same
clear.
thought watching
Did
it.
you?
Like in my mind, all the time was like, oh, like I understand why he just wants to back off from these roles.
Yeah,
So
100%. 100%.
yeah,
So, 0 out of 10, wigs for me on the literally me scale. I'm nothing like this guy.
yeah.
I don't want to have anything in common with this gentleman. Um, but
One
yeah,
thing though, what I liked about the film is those, like in the film, throughout the film, there's like these footages of like their film camera, how they filmed, like in the beginning, like the opening credit sequence with him, like his birthday as a child and his mom,
yeah,
how happy everything looked. I liked that. And throughout the film, like Kathy and him both, like they film things with their film camera and it gets cut into it. And I liked those. Those looked very cool.
I
So I
did
just
too.
wanted
And
to mention that.
they shot all those, even though I think they had like Super 8 cameras in hand, I think they shot all that stuff on 16.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was awesome. I love that part as well.
Yeah.
It did look great. The cinematography was
Yep.
fantastic across the board. Beautiful film,
Absolutely.
35 millimeter across the board, but like with those 16 mil kind of intercuts. Yeah, great. Shot fantastically.
Oh, fantastic. Just not very suspenseful, which is kind of sad because the story itself is very like interesting and wild. So it's
Yeah.
kind of a shame to make it not boring, but sort of things happen that should have an impact, and you're just like, oh, okay, I guess because they don't show it well, in my opinion.
Yeah, oh, same. I mean, sometimes truth really is stranger than fiction.
Yeah,
and he nailed it. Dreki nailed it on the head with the documentary. He
he
made
did.
one of the greatest documentaries of all time with this. But I'm excited to get into our top four. Shall we get started on our four movies for all good things?
Let's do it. You can go
Cool.
ahead and start with your first one.
Yeah. So I kind of do you have any kind of like theme or anything with these movies you picked?
I do, but I don't have a general theme, but I have like multiple sub themes, pretty
Okay.
much.
Cool.
Do you have
I
a
kind
big theme
Yeah.
or idea?
A little bit. I feel like all of mine all deal with things that are, like, kind of unresolved, whether that be
Okay.
mysteries or murder or, like, whatever it may be, just things that end in an unresolved way for the protagonist. Like, we may know, but, like, something that's unresolved for them, and I
Mhm.
love movies like that. Like, I really, truly love movies um that don't have a clear ending, like movies like that I have talked about on this pod before, like Cruising by Friedkin, which is one of my favorites.
Mhm.
I thought about throwing that on here, but I was like, I've talked about that way too much. And also like Memories of a Murder,
Yep.
which is another great one from Bong Joon-ho, which I'm also due for a rewatch on that. It's been a
Same.
while, but my first pick is a film from 2005 by Michael Haneke called Cache, or also known as Hidden, or The Hidden.
Mhm.
Um, have you seen this movie?
I've never seen it, but I've heard about it.
Yeah, it is an incredible, incredible film, but it's about this couple in Paris who they're like a wealthy, well-to-do couple, and it's sort of like David Lynch's movie Lost Highway a bit, where they get like a knock on their door and there's like a videotape there, and they put it in, and it's just like footage of their house. So it shows like that they're just kind of like being watched, and they keep receiving these tapes, and each one, like one goes back to like the dude's like childhood home, and it's just like filming in there, and there are like clues in it. And I'm not going to get into or spoil anything with this, but essentially the husband kind of goes off on this journey to figure out who is sending these tapes. And there was like a young Algerian boy that lived with him and his parents. I don't know if he was like their maid or servant's kid or like some shit like that.
Mhm.
Um, or like farmhands maybe, like something like that.
Mhm.
Um, and his parents had disappeared during like the Paris massacre of like 1960 or 1961 or whatever. And the kid was going to live with them, and then things happened to where the kid did not end up living with this man and his family growing up. So he thinks that maybe this is some type of like retribution or like revenge or like something from this kid who's now grown. So he goes off on this journey to see if it is him or not. And I'm going to leave it there because that's kind of
Mhm.
like in the setup. But it goes to some really interesting places, and there are like drawings that are like that are sent with the tapes too that are like really uncomfortable to look at. They're like childlike drawings, but they're like graphic, and it's an interesting, like, I don't know, because I don't wanna spoil anything, but
Yeah.
it's a really cryptic movie, it's super ambiguous, you don't really get a concrete answer at any point, it just continuously raises questions, which is,
Mhm.
I think, something that Haneke does often and does very well. But it's a fantastic, fantastic, fantastic movie. And I could see a Robert Durst loving this movie, to be honest with you. Um, but it's a cool like character study. Like it's kind of like about like that like middle class guilt kind of shit, and
I love
it's
that.
yeah, it's really interesting.
That kind of reminds me of that TV show. Have you heard of it's I think it's called The Watcher, like the new films are coming up, but it's a pretty much it's this true story in New York with this family. They move into the suburbs and then suddenly get like letters addressed to the house, not to a specific person, but like to the house.
Yep.
like these cryptic messages of like, "Yo, get out," whatever, and there's people breaking in and things like that. And they have you heard of this case or this
Yeah,
TV show?
I yeah, I watched. It was on Netflix. I watched the first, like, half of it, and then I kind of was like, it wasn't
Same.
as good as the hype, yeah.
Yeah, I watched like 2 or 3 episodes and then sort of dropped off. I don't know why. The
Yeah.
premise is super interesting and the fact that it
Great
happened in real
premise, great
life.
cast. Yeah.
Yeah, but the show just didn't capture me. But this sounds like something that is more up
You
my
would love
alley
this.
in the way it's told.
Oh, you would love this. You would love this movie.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, fuck yeah. What's your first movie?
So my first one is so in All Good Things, there's this scene where the neighbor she hears something like a loud bang and wakes up and like there's a thunderstorm, so she thinks it was maybe just um thunder, and then she goes to make some tea, and then looks out the window and just sees the light on at like 3 a.m. in the morning at the Durst house of the night where Kathy was murdered. And that sort of reminded me of a film that honestly needs no introduction. And a film, because I mentioned this film not having the suspense that I wish it had. So, what better way to bring out the master of suspense and one of his greatest films, Rear Window, which that reminded me of. And in that film, of course, there's a guy, a photographer, who, he breaks his leg, he can't leave his apartment. So, what else is there to do than people watch? So, he's just there on his window, just looking at his neighbors, and then he sees what he believes. I'm not going to reveal if it happens or not. If you haven't seen the film for whatever reason, it's a classic, so definitely do so. He sees what he believes a husband murdering his wife. And then the paranoia grows, and his girlfriend always comes to visit, and it's not sure if he's just going insane in his apartment. Did he actually see that? Did he really do that? It's just a great film, just set in this one room pretty much. And of course, Hitchcock can do suspense like that, so it's just a banger of a film. I'm sure you've seen it. Maybe you can drop your quick thoughts on this masterpiece.
Yeah, I mean, nothing I can say that hasn't been said. It's my favorite Hitchcock movie, without a
Oh yeah, I love
doubt.
that.
It's, the most rewatchable, I think, of Hitchcock's movies. It's
Mhm.
super entertaining, it's super funny, it's super suspenseful.
Yep.
Great drama, great filmmaking. The intro scene where it goes around the apartment is, like, taught over and over and over again on how
Yep.
to tell a story or tell the audience something without having to say it through dialogue.
Mhm.
Yeah, just I mean, a fantastic, incredible movie. It's amazing.
Yep. Not much else to say about this, but yeah, that's my first pick because like that scene reminded me a lot of Rear Window.
Hell yeah. So my second pick is also, well, I guess not also because we're talking about all good things and not the jinx, but it is a documentary that
Mhm.
came out in 2004. Um, it started as a, like, it was a French documentary and then went away for some years and then came back. So when you watch it on Netflix now, like, it's all together, like, as a whole comprehensive thing. But it's
Mhm.
called The Staircase. Um, and it is up there with The Jinx as being, like, one of the all-time great documentaries. Because what's really interesting about it is the fact that the access that they got to all the courtrooms, all of the offices of all the lawyers, into the prison, like, they are there in every single aspect. I've never seen a documentary crew actually get, like, that much access to anything. Like, it's very, very impressive.
Mhm.
But the basic, idea of it is, this guy, Michael Peterson, who was an author, he was accused of murdering his wife. His wife had His story was that his wife had gotten drunk and fell down the stairs in their home and was found dead at the bottom of the staircase. She, had, like, head wounds, head trauma, like, all that.
Mhm.
But obviously the police and the prosecution believe that he murdered her. And it is a whole documentary into, and it's not even, like, in hindsight, like, it's, like, as it's happening, there's, like, a documentary crew that is just on board and they're just in it. And it's it's interesting because then it's revealed that this guy, um, uh, uh, he years prior was living in Germany,
Mhm,
and it comes out that he has 2 adoptive daughters, and they're daughters of this woman that he was very close friends with in Germany. Um, and turns out that she had also died in his home by falling down a staircase. And that comes up, and then it's like, "Oh, that's a very funny coincidence that 2 women in your life have both died accidentally the exact same way,
yep,
in your home." And, uh again, I'm gonna leave it there, and it
mhm,
is a whole I mean, this is like a I think the initial incantation of the show was, like, 10 episodes, and then it
mhm,
went away and came back for, like, 1 oh, no, I'm sorry. It was like, 2004 was, like, 8 episodes. It
okay,
was, like, one episodes 1 through 8, and then in, like, 2013, it comes back for 2 more episodes for,
mhm,
like, another trial. And then, like, in 2018, I think, Netflix had released a 3-episode thing where it was more updated. So, it's all on Netflix as, like, a whole 13-episode thing, but the first
mhm,
18 or I'm sorry, the first 8 episodes is, like, the original chunk, and the rest is very
okay.
good too, but the first 8 in particular is, like, very good.
Damn, that sounds super interesting. I need to find out. I see if that is available. Or you said like it's on Netflix
I'm pretty
worldwide?
I'm pretty positive it's worldwide. It is
Okay.
a French program to begin with. Like the first 8 or maybe even 10, but I think the first 8 episodes were all put out by like Canal, like Studio Canal, and is like a French thing. And then I think it's the last 3 or 5 episodes or whatever that was like American produced and distributed by Netflix.
Okay.
But it is all packaged together in one
Together
thing, at
in
least
like
here.
one big show pretty
One big
much.
13 episode show. Yeah.
Damn. Gotta check that out. Sounds honestly sounds really incredible.
Yeah, highest of recommends.
Awesome. Okay, so for my next film, I
And they also sorry, one note I forgot to, make.
go for it.
HBO did do a fictional or not a fictional, but like a retelling, a dramatic retelling show with,
Few actors.
Colin yeah, with Colin Firth and what's her name? Toni Collette.
Oh,
Where and
okay.
Dane DeHaan is in it as well, but it's a retell like, it's acted out.
Have you seen
I
it?
haven't
Is it
I
good?
have not seen it. It's on Max, it's on HBO. My cousin saw it, she
Uh,
said it was really good, but she had not seen the documentary. But I'd be
Okay.
interested in checking it out. I do know that the guy is not happy with the retelling, though, because it changes a lot of things apparently.
Mhm. Because they do that like with there's what's it called? American History.
X?
What's no, there's like they're doing it with the People versus O.J. Simpson. They did it like a
Oh,
retelling.
American Horror Story. Yeah, they did American Crime Story,
American Crime Story. That's it. So sort of like that.
like
That would
that
be like
essentially,
a
yeah.
if I'm down to do like a big thing, like a double feature, I might actually watch the show and then watch like the acted out one. I like doing
Yeah,
those back to back with the Jinx. It was like the
yep.
first time I did it, but it was super cool to see
You watched the
like
Jinx
actual stuff,
first,
like the
right?
documentary version. I watched the Jinx first, yeah.
Yeah,
Which might have
cool.
hurt the film a little bit, honestly,
I
knowing
think
how it
so.
actually happened and
Yeah,
how this retelling is less interesting.
way less interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's your next
Okay.
one?
So for my next one, I went with a film about another serial killer, Jeffrey Dahmer, and that film is called My Friend Dahmer,
Mm,
which I saw a while ago, and it stars Ross Lynch as Jeffrey Dahmer, and it's sort of different than these other like retellings of the Jeffrey Dahmer stuff. There was also like this big Netflix show which I also watched, which was really good. But this film focuses on his childhood, on his teenage years. And what I liked about it, it doesn't like glorify, it doesn't make him more human like those films tend to do. But it's sort of more like a warning for people because there were clear signs with Jeffrey Dahmer, for example, that he was just not well and he was a
yeah,
clear psychopath. And watching this, so in the future, I mean, it's not the job of the people. I'm not saying the people were at fault. His father, his mom, his friends, like they weren't at fault because it's not their job to notice these signs. But I think films like that are important, how it's portrayed, so that we notice people like that and notice these early signs and hopefully can stop or like help people before things go bad. Because with Jeffrey Dahmer, he did a lot of stuff that honestly people should have noticed and he should have gotten help at an early age, which he didn't get. Whoever there is to blame is up for people to decide if it's him, if it's like the medical system, if it's his parents. But I just think it's a cool way for a film just to showcase those early signs for people to hopefully be more aware in their personal life, which hopefully does never happen for someone or like for anyone out there. But yeah, that's why I kind of chose this film.
Mm.
Have you ever heard of this film or seen it?
What's it? Say it again. What was it
It's
called?
called My Friend Dahmer.
Yeah, I feel like this isn't the one with Zac Efron, right?
It's not. There was a similar one, I think, with Zac Efron, who also played
Oh, he
someone.
plays Ted Bundy. He was Ted Bundy.
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I think I'm familiar. I definitely have not seen My Friend Dahmer, but I think the name sounds familiar, but not enough for me to be like, oh yeah, of course, I know that movie.
Mhm.
That doesn't ring a bell to me. No.
It's funny because Zac Efron came from like Disney Channel, played Ted Bundy. Ross Lynch also, I think, came from Disney Channel. I think he was.
Oh, did he?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure where he was on, but he also starred in like, was it Hannah Montana? Shake It Up, Teen, whatever.
Okay.
Austin, Jesse. I don't know these shows. They were like after my time watching Disney
Yeah.
Channel, but he was also from like that background. And I think this was his first like more serious role, and then immediately playing like one of the um, most well-known serial killers. But yeah, I definitely recommend this film just for like that, just for trying to like bring attention to those early signs.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. It looks neat.
It's not that well
Looking at it on
reviewed,
Letterbox.
honestly, but like I said, I liked it.
Yeah, I'm adding it to the watch list.
Mhm.
Cool. Okay, my
Sure,
next
next one.
one is one that when I put it on my list, I was like, "Damn, I really got to rewatch this movie because I forgot just how fucking sick it is." And I
Mhm.
really hope you check it out if you've not seen it. But it's a film from 2001 directed by Sean Penn called The Pledge. Are you familiar with this movie?
I've never seen it, but I've
It
definitely heard of it.
it's starring Jack Nicholson. I mean, the whole cast is crazy. Like Sam Shepard, Benicio del Toro, Mickey Rourke pops up in it, Harry Dean Stanton, fucking Helen Mirren. Like the cast is absolutely
Yeah.
Tom Noonan. The cast is crazy stacked.
Yep.
Um, fucking Michael O'Keefe from Caddyshack. Like it's crazy. But this movie is so good. The basic premise is Jack Nicholson is he's the police detective and he's on his last day like of duty and like they're having like a retirement party for him like at the station or whatever. And during the party they get the news that they found a child that's been murdered. So he's like, all right, last one, let me go out and take a look and then I'll let the parents know. And when he goes and
Mhm.
he delivers the news to this you know dead girl's parents, the mom like is like obviously like going crazy and is so upset and she like emphatically is like you have to swear to me and like pulls out a cross is like swear on this cross that you will find the killer, like
Mhm.
please promise me. And he agrees, so he puts off his retirement and he continues to and he looks into it. And there are some clues that pop up and I'm not going to get too into it because I think the less you know the better going into this movie. But ultimately this turns out to be a very twisted and long and ongoing journey to find out who it is. So much so to the point where someone is caught, but he doesn't feel certain that the person that is caught is that person. So he
Mhm.
keeps digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And again, I'm not going to get into too much more because, like I said, the less you know, the better. But it ultimately ends with just such a bleak an upsetting, um, uh, turn, like, just a twist of fate that is so it's like the kind of shit that, like, when I'm watching, I'm like, "Yes, like, this is how, like, it." I remember watching and being like, "Sean, please, for the love, if you are real, you will
Mhm,
end it this way." Like, what was in my head? I was like, "If you are real, I don't
mhm.
believe you will do this," because I think it was a big studio thing, but I was like, "If you're one real motherfucker, you will end it this way that I'm thinking in my head." And he fucking did it. He ended it the way that I did not
Right.
think he was gonna do it, and I'm so happy he did. It is, because it starts getting to a point and you're like, "Oh, is this really gonna go there?" And then
Mhm.
it fucking goes there,
Actually
and
go there.
it is and it's like, "Damn, okay, that was, like, an incredible, incredible ending." It's based on a book, I think from, like, the '50s,
Mhm.
also called The Pledge, a German book, actually, by
Okay,
F Friedrich Dürrenmatt. I don't
very
fucking know.
much. Getting some
Yeah,
German lessons from Tristan here.
that's right, and, I'd actually be really interested in reading this book. I actually didn't know it was a book until, like, doing some research prior to this to
Mhm.
pull it back up. But this movie, I mean, I really, really, really cannot recommend enough. It's so fucking good. Came out in 2001.
I'm a fan of Sean Penn's directed films, only though I've only seen one, and that is Into the Wild, which is honestly like one of my favorite films. So I was
I
always,
forget he directed that, yeah.
yeah, always curious to check out more of his films, and that's where I heard about the film and like scrolling through his filmography because he hasn't done like all too much, but I feel like he's definitely one that isn't afraid to going to those places with his acting and his directing. So I'm just
Oh,
very
yeah.
excited to see which like where he goes with this because with the Into the Wild, like Into the Wild, he ends it at a like very bleak in like a very bleak way in a way, and also Mystic
Yeah,
River, the film he acted in, which sounds sort of similar to this.
kind of.
That's
Far better,
also
far better. I have issues with Mystic
definitely
River.
we talked about this. We
Yeah,
were both a bit disappointed with it, but yeah, sounds like a better version of Mystic River.
yeah, in a way, yeah.
Mhm. Awesome.
What you
Okay,
got next?
so for my next one, it's a film that we actually discussed or like briefly touched on, I think, last episode or the episode before it, because you mentioned Gerald's Game, and then I
Yeah,
brought up
yes.
Till Death, directed by S.K. Dale, starring Megan Fox, which is sort of the similar plot with the husband tying himself to his newly wedded wife. They just married each other. They're on their honeymoon, like the first day as a married couple, and he takes these handcuffs while she's sleeping, ties himself on her, and then shoots himself. I'm not gonna reveal why because that's like a big thing that is that comes throughout the film. There's
Say what
people
it's
also
called again?
called Till Death. Great film. Megan Fox is incredible. And S.K. Dale, he's like a great director. I've interacted with him in the past. He also has another film with Megan Fox coming out called Subservience, which
Oh,
sounds super interesting. It's about like this housemaid robot AI who then like is called like the family gets one of those, and then I think she starts killing the family. I'm not sure who, like if Megan Fox is playing the wife or the artificial intelligent housemaid, whatever. Sounds super interesting though.
yeah.
But back to this one, like there's people coming to the house to kill her. Again, not saying why, but it's just a very like thrilling film, and I chose it to have sort of this conflict between husband and wife, which we had with Kathy and Robert Durst, especially in this film, um, and sort of to have a film with that thematic. It's a very wild film, and I haven't seen Gerald's Game yet, so I don't know if just the plot sounds similar, if this is like a sort of like a remake of it. I'm really not sure, but this is a really cool film, and they're in this like lakeside, like this snowy ice on this ice lake cabin. So there's snow everywhere. She can't get out. Um, she's also wearing like I think her wedding dress, which is
Uh-huh.
another entry in like the horror women with wedding dresses, like Ready or Not, which I'm a big fan of. So yeah, this is
Yeah.
honestly
Great
a
movie.
super great film that I recommend to everyone. It's a lot of fun to
That's
watch.
cool. I've never even heard of this one until now. I mean, and it just came out somewhat recently too, within the last handful
Yeah,
of years.
came out in 2021,
Damn. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna see if it's streaming anywhere.
and the
And
poster is super cool. Just
I
Megan
haven't heard
Fox
of this,
lying there on the, like,
like, on the
ice
ice, it looks like?
lake
Yeah.
with, like, one hand in the ice with the handcuff and all blood over her. Just super, super cool.
I've never even heard of this, SK Dale fella.
He's cool. He follows me on Instagram. I follow him. We talked a couple of times. Honestly, like a
Cool.
really I think he's Australian, actually.
Oh, cool. Yeah, they're cooking. As we've said, they're cooking right now.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, the podcast with the most coincidences. My 4th film is an Australian film, actually.
Okay. What a
It
segue.
is a film from 1975 by the GOAT Peter Weir, um, called Picnic at Hanging Rock. Have you seen this movie?
I have. Yes.
Yeah. This movie is I mean, then you'll know what I when I was saying how they're all very open-ended and ambiguous and without any answer. Because Picnic at
Definitely this
Hanging
one.
Rock, yeah, might be, like, the greatest example of that.
Mhm.
It's, the basic premise of the movie is there's, like, a it's on Valentine's Day in, like, the early 1900s where there's, like, a are they in college? Or they're in, like, a prep high school or some kind of prep
Yeah, I think it's like an
school?
all-girl private school, something like that.
Something like that, and they go to Hanging
Yeah.
Rock, which is this big rock formation somewhere in Victoria, and they go with a couple teachers for, like, a picnic, obviously, and at one point, there's like a and I'm trying to remember exactly, but there was, like, a weird thing that just happens where they all kind of fall asleep. Like, it's very odd and dreamlike. But they all
Mhm.
fall asleep and they wake up, and like one of the teachers and like a handful of the girls have gone missing.
Mhm.
And they go back to this college and they like call the police and there's a whole investigation and there's absolutely like no trace whatsoever of them like being taken or hurt or anything like that. Like there's absolutely no answers, no clues of any kind. And all the people start having like dreams of them and it becomes very strange. And I feel like this is something that Robert Durst would have watched and be like, "Oh, I can relate to this so much. Like it's all such a dream. I don't know what happened."
Mhm.
Um and again, I'm not going to get too far into it because for those who have not seen it, like I don't want to not that there's anything to really spoil
You
per
can't really
se,
spoil this film. It's
because
just so
nothing
out
really
there.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it ultimately ends by in a very open-ended way where there's not much resolve or any answer for any of the strange activity that has happened. Um, and yeah, it's very odd and very strange. What do you think about this movie?
I actually didn't like it that much when I watched it. I've only seen it
Interesting.
once.
Okay.
Fairly recently, I think maybe like 2 years ago, something like that. But I feel like I didn't like it that much because it didn't resolve. So I was like waiting for an answer and never came. So I think on rewatch, knowing what I know about it now, I think I'll definitely appreciate it more and maybe I'll actually like it. But that's I said a problem with that that it just wasn't it was just so ambiguous and so it doesn't really answer anything. So I was a little bit frustrated with it and I was like, what's the point? But I think that's exactly the point, that there is no point, that it is so ambiguous. So I definitely
Mhm.
need to rewatch it. But I remember like it was just super dreamy. It felt like a fever dream. And I think it's just super hot and they all just take a nap and that's why they're sleeping and then they wake up and it's just it feels like you just took a nap with them. You know when you have like on a hot summer day when you take a nap and you just wake up and for like a couple seconds you don't know where you're at, what time
Yeah.
of day it
Yep.
is, who you even are. Imagine like those couple seconds stretched out into a whole film. That's this
Yeah.
film, pretty
Yeah, that's a great description. That's a perfect description.
much. Yeah, but
What's
definitely
your,
to wait,
what
have you seen it multiple times?
yeah. I've
Okay.
only seen it the one time, only once.
Oh, okay. I'll definitely rewatch it and then see if I like it
I
more now.
I gotta rewatch it as well, because I enjoyed it, but I again, it was such a shock that I was like, "Oh, okay." but it left a pretty lasting impression on me. Can't lie.
Awesome. Great pick, honestly. I like that.
Yeah, thanks. What's your fourth pick?
Okay, so for my last one, I mean, I started with Hitchcock and I sort of wanted to end it with Hitchcock. And one of his
Cool.
most overlooked and underappreciated films. And sort of wanted to have it in like the perspective of Kathy, is it was it
Kathy
Kathy?
Durst,
Kathy Durst?
Or
Kathleen.
Kathy
I think
Durst,
that was her full
Kathleen.
name.
Yeah,
Um, because she loved Robert. She was like super in love with him. She loved this man. And she she was very much like under his spell. And I wanted to take a film that sort of has a similar thematic, and that is Shadow of a Doubt, which is a great Hitchcock film about this girl. And I don't know how to. I mean, the film came out in 1943, so if you haven't seen it, spoilers, because I don't know how to explain the film without
hmm
kind of spoiling it, not the ending, but just like spoiling it. So skip ahead if you don't want to know anything about it. Definitely watch it if you haven't. But it's about this girl and her uncle is coming to visit. And she just loves her uncle. She's a super big fan of him. She was even named after him, I believe. And just a very big fan. And then her uncle turns out to be like different than what she thought. And that's was sort of like my mindset with Katie Durst, Kathy, where Robert, the man she loved, wasn't the man she thought was. So that's, I mean, it's always super funny. I think that's a meme at this point, that line with these documentaries like, oh, they were a great couple, or she loved him and she thought she knew him until she didn't. Sort of that sort of thing. So
usual. Yeah,
yeah. Have you've probably heard of this film, seen it?
it's my second favorite Hitchcock movie.
There you go. It's your
I love
two
this
favorite
movie.
ones.
I think Hitchcock himself said that this was his favorite, or that's what's been said. I feel like he's been like, yeah, I said that once, and people kind of ran with it. But that's kind of how this film is described, as it's Hitchcock's favorite film of his. Um,
Interesting.
but I love this movie. It is my second, maybe my third. I feel like my top 3 is just, like, always, like, changing. It's just Rear Window, Shadow of a Doubt, and Psycho, just, like, in the
Mhm.
like, always the 3 of them. It's whatever I see the most recently, I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
that's number 1." And then, that's kind of how it's ordered,
That's
but
the thing with
I love this.
Hitchcock films.
Yeah, I love this movie, though. It's
Mhm.
incredible. I feel like underseen maybe,
It
by
is.
most people.
Yeah, it's not as
Um
talked about as much as like Vertigo and Psycho, which are of course incredible, but I think this one definitely deserves to be talked as much as those, honestly.
Oh yeah, 100%. And there's a lot of comedy in it too. I think the little kid is really funny. When
Yeah.
he's like looking at like or he's hearing about the murder, he's like he has a lot of like little funny little lines and little moments.
Mhm.
Um and again, another coincidence, I was sitting here this morning when I woke up and I was like, I gotta put on something good. I was like, I feel like I haven't watched I'm like in a weird place where I'm like, I feel like I'm not watching anything just for pure enjoyment. Like there hasn't been
Mhm.
anything I've watched that I didn't feel was like, all right, I'm watching this for a particular purpose because I'm curious to know how it was made, or I'm like studying something about it. I'm like, I kind of want to just watch something that's like that I just want to sit down and like actually enjoy. And I've been having
Mhm.
trouble like finding something. Like I'll scroll through a bunch of shit. I'm like, none of this is like even grabbing me. Like I'm like in a weird place.
Mhm.
And I was scrolling through some earlier this morning and going through my own collection here, and I'm like, "You know what?" I was like, "I've never seen Stoker," the Park Chan-wook film, which is a
Mhm.
modern reinterpretation of Shadow of a Doubt, apparently.
Mhm.
Um, so I think now that you said that, I'm for sure gonna put that on once we finish recording here.
Awesome. I hope I could help you with your little like movie slump where you're in this place where um
Yeah,
you find as much as enjoyment. So hopefully that did something for you. I'm happy to hear that.
yeah. Have you seen Stoker?
I haven't, but I've heard about it and I want to watch it.
Yeah,
I need to watch more of Park Chan-wook's films. I want to
yeah, and
watch
it's
I'm a Cyborg, but that's okay. Have you heard of that one?
no.
That sounds like super interesting. It's about this girl in like an insane asylum, I think, and she's convinced that she's a cyborg. That's all I know about the film, and the title just
This
sounds
is
super
Park
cool.
Park Chan-wook?
Yeah.
Damn. I've never heard about this. When did this
I think so.
2006, earlier. Okay, cool.
Yeah, one of his early works. Because there's one YouTube channel that I really like, and they're called "I'm a Cyborg, but That's Okay," and they make these. They pretty much take scenes from like one film and match them with a very cool song, and just have it like an edit, but like the full song with just cool scenes from one
Yeah.
particular film. And that's how I heard about the title, and then looked it up, and then found out about the film. I always want to check it out. So it's a movie over here, so I might watch that this weekend, honestly.
Yeah, it sounds sick. I've literally have never heard of this
Mhm.
before. I feel like all of his movies, um, like, are just, like, such, like, a statement in a way that it's, like, it's hard to not be pulled in regardless. So I think that's
Yeah.
why I'm like, "Alright, I gotta, like, hop into, like, a Park Chan-wook to sort of bring me back in."
Mhm. Maybe that's what you need, a marathon of his films. Maybe that will bring you back.
Maybe. Maybe. I need some or Haneke, because after I was, like, looking up Cachet again, I was like, honestly,
Mhm.
every Haneke film I've seen has fucked me up, so I'm down to put on another one of those. So it'd either be Park Chan-wook or Michael Haneke. Very
Oh, yeah.
nice going stuff to watch on a Sunday afternoon.
Absolutely. Nice family, good mood.
Good
And we'll find
family
out
fun
next week
time.
what you decided on watching.
Well, yeah, I'm excited as well. Well,
What's the
just to
last
go
one?
through for those are my 4.
Oh,
I went
yeah,
first
you
this
did
time.
you
Yeah.
started. That's true.
Yeah, but, to go through for the people who are listening, my picks were, Cachet, from 2005, The Staircase from 2004, The Pledge, the Sean Penn movie from 2001, and Picnic at Hanging Rock from 1975, which I think they
Great
did they not do a remake of Picnic at Hanging Rock? Like a TV series?
I think recently, that wasn't there?
Yeah, I
I
think they
remember
did.
hearing something as well.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know why that just popped in
But I
my
think
head.
they're also making a remake, like a film remake. I think I heard something as that like, of that as well.
Something. Yeah.
I remember something, but not entirely sure.
Oh, Samara Weaving was in a remake in 2018.
Okay, that's probably it. She's a
Interesting.
great actress, great Australian actress. I need
She's
to check out
amazing.
the re
Check out what?
I need to check out the remake that she's in.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, and for my 4, I had Rear Window, 1954. I had My Friend Dahmer, which came out in 2017. I had Till Death from 2021, and I had Shadow of a Doubt from 1943.
I think we both had a fantastic list today, if I do say so myself.
Absolutely. Well, we always do. Every week, I
I
think we
think so.
always find good films, good companion pieces to the
Oh, yeah,
film.
I think so. Well, next week, we are continuing on our Ryan Gosling, journey, and now I'm excited. Now we're really, like, really in the deep of some interesting, like, the 2000s is an
Yep.
incredibly interesting period for Gosling, which I guess will still be in 2010. But the next few, I am so, so excited for. The next one being
Same.
Blue Valentine, his
Mhm.
first collabo with old Derek Sion
Yep.
France. Um, I haven't seen Blue Valentine in so long, it's gonna feel like a first time watch. Like, it's been probably over 10 years plus. I've not seen it in forever.
It's gonna
I
break
cannot
me.
wait. I
Same.
can't
That is
wait.
probably, like, one of my most like, when we started this,
Me
this
too.
was one of my most anticipated ones to rewatch
Same.
because I just love this film so much, and that ending, oh boy.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. And then after
Yeah.
that, we have Lars and the Real Girl, which I'm so excited to rewatch again.
Mhm.
Um, and then we have a bunch of others. But I mean, I'm looking at it. We have gone through more than what we have left. Like we're on kind of like the final
Mhm.
path here. Because his first
How many do you have?
film is in 2000, and we're in 2010.
There's, like, how many, 7 films left? Something like that.
There is one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 films left.
That's more than I thought.
I'm sorry, 11.
11. Okay, so we have Blue Valentine, we have Lars and the Real Girl, we have
Fracture,
Fracture,
which
we have
I've actually have never seen that movie before.
I saw it recently, and actually,
I
I think
remember.
that one actually pairs really well with this one, but I didn't wanna take it because it's sort of like we're gonna talk about it anyways.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
pairs really well with All Good Things, honestly.
Interesting. Okay, I'm excited to see that one. And then we have
Mhm.
Half Nelson after that, which I can't wait
Half
to
Nelson.
rewatch. We have Stay. which I've never seen, I don't think.
Same. But it's funny that he has a film called Drive and a film called Stay.
Stay, right?
Mhm.
And then before that, we or after that, I guess, we have The Notebook.
Then The Believer, I think.
The Believer's his second
Okay.
film. We have The United States of Leland, which is another, anti-Semitic, like, character that he plays.
Mhm.
Um, and then The Slaughter Rule, which I'm not familiar with,
We
like, at
talked
all,
about it's not
actually.
a football film.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
excited for that. Let's see, hopefully he's not playing D-back. Um, we have Murder by Numbers, which I'm very excited to check out,
Mhm.
which I think it's like a for murder type like inspired Hitchcockian kind of thing.
Okay.
And then it's The Believer, and then it's Remembering the Titans. Which Remember the Titans will be interesting because he's such a minimal part of that movie, really.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that'll be a fun one to talk about. I don't personally
There's
care for
one
that movie
more
very much, but
afterwards. His
what's after
first
that?
one, the monster film, what's it called? Uh,
I thought Remember the
Frankenstein?
Titans was his first movie.
No, there's one before, like, his first one, I think it's called, like, Frankenstein and yeah, Frankenstein and Me. That's his first one, I think. 1996.
Oh, Frankenstein and Me. Yeah, there it is. I didn't even see that.
Mhm.
How come that one didn't? Oh, because I copied over the wiki, and that one's, like, blacked out, so there's not even a
Oh,
wiki page, maybe that's why. Frankenstein and Me.
plays
Cool, well,
Ken.
I'm very excited to check that one out. So we do have 12 left then.
Okay.
Oh, he plays with
Burt
Burt Reynolds in this.
Burt Reynolds, yeah, I just saw that as well. Hopefully we get that.
Interesting.
I actually think we'll get before October. Maybe like October-ish for this one. Then we can have another Halloween
Yeah,
episode.
this is,
Yeah,
interesting. I wonder how much he's, like, a part of it, the movie.
I'm not sure. I think he plays like a little kid, maybe like the son of the main character. I'm really not sure. I
Yeah,
just know he was Frankenstein. And honestly, I think that might be why he loves like the Universal monsters so much. Because as a kid, he was on set of like a Frankenstein-esque film. So,
and also, Are You Afraid of the Dark? That one episode that I mentioned a few episodes back of the
yeah.
pod.
Hmm.
Um, it's in his bones. That's why I would love to see him do another horror movie. Would love it.
He has to. He has
Or
to
a
direct one.
proper
Yeah.
horror movie. Like, he's
Hmm.
never been in a proper horror movie, has he?
Nope. Never like a proper one.
Yeah.
We need him
No.
in a monster
So,
film. We need him in
I
a
think
monster.
no, he has been. He's been in the most horrifying film of all time. It's called The Gray Man.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Song to Song, which is equally as
It's
horrifying.
I don't even have I realized I don't even have Song to Song on my, like, final Gosling ranking list because I never actually watched it. I think I watched, like, 10 minutes and I was like, "I'm not life is
It
too
would end
short.
up
I'm not gonna."
it would end up in last place anyway, so really no point in it's not
Awful,
even worth a honorable mention.
awful.
Yeah.
Anyway. Alright, well, I'm excited for the rest of our journey, excited for next week, Blue Valentine, and, yeah, we'll talk then.
Bye-bye.
See ya.